And we are live. I'm Dr. Christopher Vogelman here with the lovely, talented, and ever so knowledgeable Monica Klein, where we're talking about.
We're talking about whatever we want to talk about on Formula.
Whatever you want to talk about on Friday. It's whatever you want to talk about Friday. It's like
we were planning something, but it sort of got a little waylaid, and we're going to talk about digestion this coming Wednesday. We're going to talk about stress. Who's stressed out there?
Stress? Make good choices.
And good choices. And I have no props. I have no props.
I don't have props either, but that's just super.
Yeah. The only prop I have is Skinny Jeans Weight Loss Program, but all my supplements right next to me here. And
it's okay. Choose good supplements. That's part of
choose good supplements. Yes.
I think sometimes I was looking back in our friend Mark Percival's old functional dietetics, and some of the things. I do too. I've gone back to this thing. It's nearly 20 years old, but it's still valid. It
reminds me of some of my textbooks in university. You know, it's really thorough and it's totally comprehensive. But I don't even think it's in print anymore. Functional dietetics.
No, it's not. I've checked. You can find some here and there, like on eBay. Mm-hmm. And I think there was one I saw on Amazon, but they were asking, so maybe a used bookstore might have it. If you can find it, it's a great resource because both Monica and I studied through via the author, Dr. Mark Percival, who is a naturopathic physician and chiropractor. And it was all about making healthy choices, and his PEP program, the patient empowerment program.
I think it was education program.
Patient education program. Yeah, I kind of like patient empowerment program.
Same thing. Education is empowerment. Yes.
But whoever said knowledge is power clearly did not know much about human behavior, because people have a lot of knowledge, but they don't necessarily do anything constructive with it.
Intelligence is not an indication, or knowledge is an indication that you will do what you want to, set out to do, because the brain works in mysterious ways.
And if you don't do what you set out to do, you could be in doo-doo.
Yeah. I wanted to just mention another great book that he wrote, and it might have been with his wife as well, Cheryl, Infant Nutrition, which I used to recommend a lot of time. There it is.
And there it is.
All the props today.
I have props.
On Formal Friday.
I'm giving you props.
Well, thank you for the props.
It helps to be in my life. It helps to have my library behind me.
I'm giving you props because you really have props. Here's one of my props, for supplements. I have this really great container.
That's really so funny. We have the same container, but for my mother-in-law. But hers is not filled with supplements. Hers is filled with...
I have exactly the same thing for my husband, too, which is where we actually got funny. This came from Home Health.
Yeah.
And so I used the brand new one, and he still got the other one.
But I think that's just such a great idea.
It is a great idea.
It's so confusing sometimes when you're making choices about living better and supplementing, especially supplementing now with the food distribution network sometimes not giving you everything that you want. I mean, I can tell you that if you need potassium, this little puppy is not going to cut it if you need additional supplementation. And having those little boxes is perfect. Yeah.
It's ready. And you don't have to think about it. You just do it once a week. Boom. Done.
And who wants to think?
Who wants to think? We've got so many other things to think about, like how to survive and how to thrive and how to be alive, right?
Stay alive.
Staying alive.
You don't want to go casket shopping at this point. That's the dark side. You don't want to go casket shopping at this point.
But I keep getting letters from Neptune Society, which is all about cremation. Which is what they're doing a lot of right now.
I don't necessarily want to be part of a cremation nation.
So I want to know if you've heard of something called COVID toes.
I have heard of COVID toes.
Did I tell you about it yesterday?
Most people have not heard of COVID toes, and it's not the same as gangrene when you've got diabetes or something like that.
Well, no. And when I was doing some Google trending search on the weekend, I saw COVID toes, and And I thought, well, I have no time for this, but wow.
I have no time for COVID toes.
I have no time. And yet, yesterday we had a plethora of medical appointments. My husband had 2 telemedicine appointments scheduled, one with his dermatologist and one with his pulmonologist.
Yeah.
And so it became hospital, I won't say ER, but definitely a lot was going on. His dermatologist, I was basically literally on the ground holding up my iPad to show her his toes. Toes.
Was there good resolution for you showing the toes?
It was, yeah.
Really?
iPad, iPads are great. I just had to position it properly. So and then I had to use my other hand for the flashlight of my iPhone. So it was a lot of physical work.
Were your shoulders tight and stressed out after that? No, good.
The whole body. But anyway, his toes, we were talking about last week about, thank God his circulation and his extremities are okay. Right. But then this showed up. He's got some bruising and so it was some blueness in his toes on one foot, and 3 toes. Didn't look very good, and it was very disconcerting. And she said, it might be COVID toes because there's all sorts of new symptoms like headache now, runny nose. I mean, you could just keep on adding things to this.
Hey, speaking of keeping on adding things to this, I am going to pop in the link if anybody wants to come in and ask us questions, or feel free to ask questions in the comments, and I'll check there as Monica and I are alternately talking.
So yes, COVID toes. So she basically said, get his nephrologist involved, and so I did, and we were concerned that it might be infected, so we got him on antibiotics right away, which is not the best thing because he just took a round of antibiotics. So, and now his gut is just not doing very well right now. So it's just one thing after another, but because he's so complex, he's got one medication, and then he's got his dialysis, and he's got one thing, affecting another thing, and then you take another medication. So this is why we do not want to be chronically ill. We want to maintain our health. Anyway, so I did talk to him, and he said, talk to the podiatrist. Then we talked to the pulmonologist, and these are key players on his team: his nephrologist, his neurologist, and his pulmonologist at this point. So they basically, what good thing is it's not COVID toes.
It's good,
because when he was lying down, a lot of the bluishness was gone. So it's a vascular issue. So now we have to schedule a Doppler with his vascular surgeon. So
in general, for those people who do not have COVID toes, what are some of the things that we can talk about with respect to making better choices for circulation?
Yeah. And what are the things we could do? Well,
from a supplement standpoint, from movement, even just flexing your feet.
Flexing, elevation, physical exercise, you definitely have to do that. And he's in a wheelchair, so it's more complex, more complicated to do. But we do physical therapy with him when we can.
Well, what do you do to keep moving?
I move around a lot. I mean, I'm even moving. I go up and down the stairs at least 100 times a day. So
that's pretty good. Who needs a gym with a Stairmaster when you can go up and down the stairs 100 times?
Exactly. And I use the Hoyer lift. I'm not sure if most of you know what a Hoyer lift is. It's essentially, if someone can't ambulate, you cannot transfer them. So you have to move them on this thing that looks like a sling. There's a sling, and it's kind of a trapeze, not a trapeze.
You're doing aerobatics at home.
But I tell you, it's heavy. It's heavy to push him, and so that is just definitely some weight resistance.
Well, it does assist you in leverage to lift, but you do have a lot of resistance.
You're going like this. It's like you're pumping a pump. It's a hydraulic pump. So there's a lot of exercise. It's not an electric electric one, which everyone told me not to get an electric one because it could fail. Battery life.
And what do you do?
So that's how I get my exercise. And I do, I do walk around the neighborhood a little bit.
That's super.
Super, I know. I have nothing to show.
You don't have to show anything. Show your face.
I have my yoga.
No, not your shoulder, your face.
I have my yoga. This is for washing my yoga mat. That's about a prop I have.
Is it a special yoga mat wash?
It is a press special. No,
What's in it? Like, is there alcohol?
There's essential oil. There's water, organic essential oils. This is another thing I do. I pull up my yoga mat and I do some resistance yoga moves. About 10 minutes every morning.
That's so pretty good.
Chelating. There's an organic essential oils. It doesn't say what it is, but I could. And a chelating agent, and that's it.
So one choice we could make in particular nowadays is in keeping things clean. Now, do you wash vegetables?
Wash vegetables, yes. Yeah. I mean,
what do you use for that?
Just water? I don't. No. I think there's some. I mean, it's not a great time to be saying this because of the situation with the virus, but I think a lot of people have gotten so germ phobic over the years that it's a little bit excessive. But I mean, I really can't say this right now because we're like over the top with that because out of necessity. But
I think there's a difference between a COVID virus and say your average garden variety bacterium that's floating around. I mean, you want to be careful that you don't have a lot of E. coli floating around and a lot of pneumococcal, organisms.
I was buying a lot of romaine lettuce for like the last year or two, and then I stopped buying it because of all this E. coli outbreak. And
we went right back and bought the romaine because as soon as the E. coli, as soon as it was nailed down to one little place in Arizona, then we were like, okay,
happened 3 times. It happened 3 times, so it wasn't just one incident. So that's why I stopped for a while.
Well, you can have your iceberg if you want to.
I know. I have baby greens and my arugula.
Baby greens.
My arugula, which I love. My sister, she unfortunately lost her husband last January 2019. And they had this huge garden. It was just like, it still is. It's just like overgrowing. And of course, he and they worked together to kind of manage it with the house, the big house and the pool and everything like that. But when, unfortunately he passed away. And so she had to do all of it. And so she was actually planning to move. But now she can't move sell her home and move, but now she can't because of what's going on. So she's kind of, like I said to her the other day, I said, you've kind of settled into what you can do. Last year was incredibly stressful, but now you have this amazing garden. I mean, so much growing in it. And it's just so abundant.
Well, there are people moving because we actually, the other day, we were walking around. We saw 3 moving vans. So somebody's moving. And the reason I know that you can believe me is, trust me, I'm a doctor.
Trust me, I'm a doctor. I will. I do.
That was the joke from my lovely wife, Maggie. She gave me this one as a gift. Like, trust me.
Does she wear it though? Does she wear it though?
No, I wear it.
No. But she's the doctor of the house.
Well, sometimes, we do refer to her as Dr. Maggie. Sometimes I refer to her as Dr. Monica.
Yes,
or Dr. Mom, Dr. Wife, Dr. Klein, paging Dr. Klein.
Yeah, I have 2. Like I have a dentist doctor brother and a chiropractor doctor brother. Doctor brother.
A doctor brother. It sounds like a Franciscan friar. Hello, brother doctor.
Yes, or a Mormon thing, but that's more sister, isn't it? I don't.
I know sisters, brothers, that sort of thing. I've always been fascinated by the fact that I had a teacher, an anatomy instructor in Toronto, and he was from Great Britain. His admonishment to us was that physicians in Great Britain have a bachelor's of medicine, whereas a doctor of medicine was reserved only for the teachers in medical school. I always thought that was fascinating to me. So all these people who run around saying, "Well, I'm a doctor," the reality is, if you were in Great
They have a
Britain,
bachelor's degree.
you would be, you better be teaching. And so the fact that doctor means teacher,
they're PhDs. Are they PhDs? Or are they medical doctors?
No, they are medical doctors who have a doctorate in medicine, but the doctorate is bestowed upon those who instruct others in the art and science of medicine,
that's
which is kind of crazy. Wow. And so I always found that to be really interesting when people say, "Well, he's not a real doctor."
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, doctor means teacher. So if you ain't teaching your patients, you aren't a real doctor.
Yeah. So, well, that's what it means to doctors, to educate, right?
To doctors, to educate and to empower.
So what were you doing in Toronto? You actually went and studied in Toronto?
I went to the Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College.
That's where my brother went.
That's where I started. It was at Bayview and Eglinton.
Yes.
Right across from the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. And with my poor vision, it was kind of ironic that I was across the street from those folks. And so I was actually a foreign student at one point, which is a very interesting position in which to be. It was me from Buffalo and a woman from Detroit, which is right across
very close
the other end from Ontario. What is that? Windsor, Ontario. And so we were the two foreign students amongst all these hundreds of students.
And not so foreign.
Well, they were pretty foreign. I mean, you know,
different country, but not so foreign.
No, but we had to pay extra, so that was
well, that makes you more foreign.
It makes you it was foreign to me to have to pay extra. Let me put it that way.
Well, when I was at university, it was foreign to pay the exorbitant amounts that Americans pay for college.
Exactly. Well, things are changing, and people are making different choices with respect to their education and to their vocations. Yeah. And when we circle back to the health choices, I'm kind of curious about some of the basic choices to reduce stress, like hydration, for example, and choosing to eat whole foods versus extracts or juices and things. We touched on that before about the value.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
like Big Chewy, for example, was a whole squash.
I think I have Big Chewy, and I was going to make Big Chewy.
Yeah.
Cook him.
What will happen to poor Big Chewy if he's gone?
He will be delicious.
Oh,
Big Chewy, let's make sure everyone knows what Big Chewy is. It's a very large butternut squash that I got, and I'm very happy. You know, it's interesting. I was excuse me, cough, dry. No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
No,
I'm fine.
The difference between sneezing versus coughing.
Dry cough. I think it's the air, the fan that's on me. But you know, I have been very protective of my aides and not going to get groceries because they come back in. I've just really starting to find like all these resources coming to me, these organizations that have volunteers that are able to help out people. I mean, it's basically focused on the seniors and you know, those with compromised health. So it's really quite a good thing. However, you know what I do miss? I do miss going to the store and making choices. Because
in fact, that's something that we really miss too. And we went to a store the other day, and it was just so incredibly exciting. It was actually the Rite Aid drugstore, and then we went. I did that. No, actually, with the Walgreens across the street on Orange Avenue, and it was
Disneyland, right?
It was like Disneyland.
Right.
So many choices. We got to ride the cash register. You know, it was just really exciting.
Or the cart.
The cart. Well, there was no cart, but we grabbed some dark chocolate bars and skedaddled out of there.
Wow.
It was very interesting. One person came in with a whole face shield and then disappeared. And I'm almost wondering if that person wasn't a healthcare worker from down the street.
You know, that's what I miss. Well, that's what I'm missing. I'm missing seeing what's going on out in the outer world and how people are behaving. My aide, I did send her to Trader Joe's yesterday, and I realized I can't do this anymore. I can't let them go because they come back. And she had a long wait. And
you mean if you send them and they come back, that's a bad thing?
Well, she's more exposed. They're more exposed.
Oh, okay, that's what you're talking about.
So yeah, so
I send her out there and she never
drop the bags off, and then leave. They get, I usually leave a check on the door and then they just leave. So there's no contact at all. But she had scrubs on and she had a badge on, and apparently they're supposed to let them go first, and they didn't. They didn't let her go first. So I'm not sure why that is.
I think some people are just unaware, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
They may not, or they're so stressed out with so many people at the register, they don't know what to do.
Yeah. So making choices, making good, healthy choices. And one thing that I didn't have her pick up, though, was my wonderful extra virgin olive oil, which I use all the time. And so now I'm going to have to send somebody else. But now I have volunteers, so that's good.
That's great. Yeah, we've had some interesting things when going into, because my wife Maggie went into a store the other day and did the whole thing, the gloves, the mask, and what have you. And they do keep people 6 feet apart at the registers. And it was a huge experience for her, but she did not feel the joy of just looking at things and trying to figure out. She's just making a mad dash trying to pick as many things as possible and get out of there to reduce potential exposure. Because we have a nurse practitioner friend who actually is a DNP. She's a doctor of nurse practitioner. She's stationed in Italy right now in the Navy, and we occasionally will ping her for the latest in COVID things. And she would tell us that you need to be around somebody. I think it's in the 10-minute range in terms of actually getting that transfer, that transmission. And so if you're just passing somebody who doesn't have a mask, the odds are very slim, particularly if they're not coughing or spraying any droplets, that you're going to get anything like that. So it's very interesting talking to another doctor who is schooled in allopathic medicine as opposed to my chiropractic and your chiropractic brother and the dental folks that we know. So,
I mean, I'm talking to the medical profession all the time on a daily basis. So, it's even like behaviorally. I mean, you can't even talk to people when you're going in the store. You can't even really.
Yeah, there's a certain fear. Making a visit to a store can be very stressful, as opposed to pausing and considering, is this one bruised? Perhaps I should select a different
mad dash. It's a mad dash.
And so you need to psychologically prepare yourself that this is almost like a military mission. I'm on a mission to shop so that I don't drop.
Yeah. It's so interesting. The last time I did go shopping, I went to 3 stores, and that was March 17th. I had these winter gloves on, and I subsequently wrote this article after it. So it was called
and that's a very good one. Yeah, wearing gloves. That's a very good article.
So I wore gloves. I wasn't wearing a mask at that time because we didn't have the focus on masks at that moment. And people looked at me really weirdly that I was wearing gloves, and I was not making eye contact, because not to spread anything, but to be ridiculed.
Well, no, but also to stay focused. Well, I'm on a mission. I'm going
some of it was about like people, having judgment around it, because nobody was doing that. No, like I saw one person with a mask and gloves, but at that time, March 17th, nobody was doing that.
Well, they were too busy drinking green beer because that was St. Patrick's Day.
Well, I don't think a lot of people were feeling very lucky that day.
They weren't. They didn't feel the luck of the Irish.
I was lucky. I went to Trader Joe's. I went to Ralph's, which is, a grocery store here, to get my half and half, because nobody had it. I think I even went to Sprouts, which is like Whole Foods. And, but I mad dash, but it was really because of I didn't want to be anyway, part of it, I wouldn't say.
Well, but that's interesting you say that, because we do often adjust our behavior to avoid ridicule or embarrassment or criticism of any sort.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people don't wear masks and gloves out in the world. More people are wearing masks, I think, than gloves right now. But they aren't, because they feel foolish or something.
Well, there are differences in regulations, because I was just reading our local paper. I just actually got to read the local Coronado newspaper, and they had mentioned something interesting about regulations. And I don't know if it was true or not. It said that you only have to wear a mask when you are within 6 feet of another person. And that just didn't really sound right to me. So I questioned some of the local journalism. But we wear them when we go out, and occasionally we'll just stop and pause because I'm finding if I'm walking fast, it's a little difficult to breathe through some of these masks. I mean, I almost want to put paper clips or something to create a little area around or below the chin to breathe more easily, because these are pretty thick material.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I have the surgical masks as well as some N95s, 94s.
I think I've got one of the paper masks I've been using.
Yeah, we use those, and those are easier than the N95s. I mean,
these are.
So, yeah,
but I'm trying to figure out, is there a way to disinfect these? Because I'm almost thinking if I sprayed it with vinegar and a light solution of Clorox or so,
I mean, the fabric
let it dry.
The fabric will disintegrate, you know, after several times. So you could try that. But
I'm just more concerned on the outside. I mean, my own germs I'm okay with. So.
Well, you don't know what's going to penetrate through when it sort of degrades a little bit.
But nothing as big as a banana will penetrate through that.
No. I wonder if you could put the banana over your mouth and, you know,
put the banana over your mouth and breathe normally before you give it to somebody else. That's what I would say.
You know, my husband hates wearing. Well, you know, it's warm, and who wants to wear masks? But we have to do that right now because it's the best thing to do. And so back to healthy choices. I mean, that is a healthy choice. It is a
healthy choice. Mask, no mask. Gloves, no gloves.
Yeah. Mask or no mask. So, and food choices. I mean, we. You know, and then there's some exercise and
well, I think, but back to food choices, because that's a big thing. You've done a lot of work with people in terms of weight loss with your Skinny Jeans lifestyle program. And what are some of the things that trigger people to make bad choices when it comes to eating?
Stress for sure. Yeah. If you don't have any time for yourself, and
you know, caregivers often don't have time for themselves.
They don't, and that's really a big thing, you know, because I mean, just in and of itself, it's such a hard thing to do when you're especially when it's your husband. It's hard when it's your parent, and certainly very difficult when it's your child.
Yep.
But when it's your husband, it's like you went into this marriage expecting to be equals, right? Till the bitter end, right? And it shifts. I mean, you're not equals anymore. And depending on the level of their illness, they're not really participating in what needs to be done on a daily basis. So I always say, you know, I'm running a one-patient hospital here, and it feels like it with supplies coming in and staff coming in. And, you know, just like yesterday, in contact with 4 of his physicians just to get things sorted out, and then making appointments. I mean, just making a doctor's appointment is a big job because I need extra transportation for him. I need someone to go with him. I suppose I could go with him, but anyway, it's quite complex.
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, my experience has been mostly dealing with elderly individuals, and both in terms of in my parents' house, at nursing homes, at assisted living, and other facilities, and seeing sometimes that if you have someone in facilities, and it's hard to get into a nursing home nowadays, I think you're basically banned. That
no, it's not actually. They are taking patients in. They are taking patients in, like rehab patients.
Well, no, I understand patient intake. It's visitors that I was.
Visitors? No, not at all.
Yeah, no, and that was a big thing for us because we would bring healthy food that was not institutional food, and that really helped some of our relatives stay healthy. So sometimes you do have to make healthy choices on behalf of other people, like you're doing right now.
Yeah, I have to make healthy choices. I know, I mean, the food in nursing facilities it's just terrible.
And some of it's pretty nasty. Let me tell you.
Yeah. And, you know, everything tastes the same. Everything looks the same. There's no flavor. His food in the hospitals they were like really amazing meals. Yeah. You know, like salmon or a turkey dinner. There was a turkey, like Thanksgiving turkey dinner with everything. And it really, I was surprised. It tasted pretty good.
Oh no, the Sharp Coronado Hospital is pretty amazing. In fact, their cafeteria, they have a chef their cafeteria is so good that people, I can't do that anymore right now, but people would come from Coronado. It was one of the best kept secrets
like a
for
restaurant.
a healthy, nutritious lunch. Head over to the cafeteria because it's inexpensive and good.
So amazing because it's not
typical. These results are not typical. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess maybe more and more hospitals are becoming that, but I doubt it. But definitely nursing facilities. I mean, they always talk about, the limited resources and their staff being stretched so much. And, but they're private entities and, they are for profit or businesses. So, I mean, that's a whole other story with that whole, trying to figure out the healthcare system as well as insurance. I mean,
right.
You're dealing with that too. So as a caregiver, got a lot to contend with.
Yeah. And you have to be an advocate for whoever is involved. If there is a hospitalization or even at home, you have to do make a lot of choices with respect to even the timing and the technology for doing telemedicine to make sure that everything is lined up properly. Now, I see we have some people who are watching. The only thing is, if you have any questions, you can just pop them in here into the comment section. I have the link down below if you want to join us, but I think we're getting close to wrapping up. We're at 33 minutes of fun under the sun. It goes by quickly because we both have a lot of information and experience, and we have different stories and circumstances that may resonate with someone who is out there watching. And in fact, those of you who watch on the replay, please put your comments in here. I will be sharing this into the Total Health Live group, as well as to a couple other locations after the broadcast. And this will be found on our YouTube channel. It means I have to actually upload 4 episodes, 2 from last week and 2 from now, so that they can live on for a wealth of health information.
Perpetuity.
Any further comments that you have right now?
No, I just want to say have a safe, healthy, and rich weekend.
Yes.
And we will see you next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, we'll be talking about digestion. But don't worry, even though it has the word die in it, it is not threatening to you.
And we'll talk about the difference between digestion and metabolism. So stay tuned.
It's almost like the difference between weather and climate.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to end this for now. Please feel free. By the way, too, you can join Total Health Live, our private Facebook group where we have additional discussions. And Monica can be found on coachingforhealth.com. And she's going to be releasing some new stuff for the new normal.
New normal stuff that can help.
Yes, it's not abnormal. It's new normal. All right. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.